Around 7 p.m. that evening, Mukasa arrived at the location Susan had texted him. To his greatest surprise, it was one of the fanciest houses he had seen in his entire life. And when he discovered that Susan's father owned the property that was close to a beach, he was completely blown away. "Thank you for honoring my invitation. I didn't think you would come," she said after serving him a glass of juice.
Would I miss the opportunity to see the finest woman in this universe?
"So, what do you say we go to my room and play a bit?" Without thinking of any implications, Mukasa said yes. In fact, the minute Mukasa stepped his foot on Susan's property, he was no longer himself, but he had no idea. That evening, Mukasa and Susan made intense love in Susan's room, and after their romantic time together, he left. On his way back to see his friends, Mukasa texted one of his friends that he wasn't feeling himself, and he couldn't explain why, but instead of taking it seriously, his friend teased him and connected his feeling to making love to Susan. Strangely, while Mukasa was on his way to his apartment, he suddenly felt the urge to go back to the same beach side where he first kissed Susan. Meanwhile, when this urge came, Mukasa was very close to the beach, but somehow he managed to suppress the urge and he went straight home. For the rest of that evening, Mukasa was incredibly quiet, and he didn't join his friends to go out and have fun as they did every night, which was unlike him. After a lot of persuasion, his friends finally agreed to go without him, leaving him alone at home. Sadly, no one knew that would be the last time they would set eyes on Mukasa. By the time his friends returned home in the early hours of the next morning, Mukasa was nowhere to be found. At first, his friends thought he had changed his mind about going out, but after waiting until evening and no one had heard from him, even until the next day or could reach his phone, they became worried.
Do you think he has gone home? It's unlike him to disappear like this and not say anything to anyone. No, I don't think so. But let's go there and see if he's home,
another friend suggested. This was after they had waited till evening. With that suggestion, all Mukasa's friends, who were also his flatmates, went to Mukasa's parents' house, and sadly, he wasn't there.
Has he done something like this before?
His mother asked in a panic.
No, ma, he hasn't. But Mukasa can be unpredictable at times. The only scary thing is that no one has heard from him since yesterday. But I suggest that we should wait it out and not panic yet.
Even when Mukasa's friend said that, deep down in his heart, he could sense that something was wrong. They knew Mukasa was the most accountable one amongst all of them. He was always the one texting his friends about his whereabouts, sending them memes and funny videos, and talking about his latest catch. So it was unlike him to just disappear without a word. After Mukasa's friends left his parents' house, in a bid to find him, they went back to the club he had met Susan, just in case Mukasa had decided to go back to Susan without telling them.
No! The last time I saw him was the last time we met. I have been trying to contact him, but his number isn't reachable. I hope everything is alright. Yes, everything is fine. It's almost 2 days now, and we haven't seen him or heard from him. I'm sure he will come around.
Later that evening, when Mukasa's friends returned to their apartment, they all agreed that they would wait for the week to run out, and if they did not see Mukasa at the end of the week, they would report the case to the police. Sadly, that whole week passed, and Mukasa was still nowhere to be found. When the police eventually took over the case, they questioned everyone, tried to understand what had happened to Mukasa and why he suddenly disappeared. But no matter what they did or who they talked to, they couldn't help find Mukasa. As time passed, many people began to say that something terrible had happened to him. Some said maybe he had been kidnapped and killed as a way to get back at his influential father. Others suggested that maybe he had drowned at a beach while swimming that night and so much more. Eventually, when a year passed and there was still no explanation for Mukasa's disappearance, his parents finally accepted that he was dead and they decided to bury an empty casket on his behalf. Sadly, as the days passed, Mukasa's friends and his distant family members began forgetting about Mukasa and they all moved on with their lives. But there was someone who just could not forget Mukasa, and that was no other person but his mother. Even though Mukasa and his mother didn't have a very smooth relationship, she still loved him very much. Also, though she had agreed that Mukasa was dead somewhere, a part of her still believed that her son was alive and would come back to her someday. On some nights, Mukasa's mother would cry to bed whenever she remembered her son, and if at all her husband overheard her prayers, he would get mad at her.
God, I know that you hear me. Keep Mukasa safe wherever he
this
is.
Woman, stop this. Stop torturing yourself emotionally.
The few years after Mukasa's disappearance and his burial, Mukasa's father tried his best to comfort his wife. But as time passed, he hated that she had not moved on and would flare up when he either saw her crying or praying for him to be found.
How many times have I told you to forget about Mukasa? He is gone, and you're only hurting yourself whenever you cry to bed.
Honey, I have tried, but I can't just forget our first son and child like that. He was my first fruit, and even though he was very stubborn as he grew older, that did not mean I stopped loving him.
But it's been 6 years since his disappearance. He is dead, and your tears can't bring him back. Don't you know my heart breaks whenever I think of him? But it breaks more when I see you like this, and it makes me angry too.
My husband, I'm sorry, but I have no control over this. A part of me still believes that God will bring him back.
That's the lie you tell yourself. Mukasa is dead, and we buried him.
No, we did not. We buried an empty casket, and I cannot rest until I see his body.
I pray that one day you see the damage you are doing to your emotional and mental health. I'm going to bed now. When you are done crying, you can join me.
Even though Mukasa's mother felt the need to keep praying for her son because of what she believed, her husband's statement discouraged her, so she stopped and tried her best to move on with her life. About a year later, precisely 7 years after Mukasa's disappearance, Mukasa's mother had a dream. She dreamt that she was standing at the beach and enjoying the breeze in her face and hair, while other people were playing with their kids in the water. While standing there, she spotted someone that looked like Mukasa in the crowd,
Mukasa!
And she ran to him. Upon getting to him, she saw that he was naked, looked very skinny, and was just in a bad shape.
Mukasa, where have you been? We have been looking everywhere for you. Your father and I thought you were dead.
I'm not dead. I'm walking. I have been working for them all these years.
Working for who? What do you mean?
Unfortunately, before Mukasa could respond, something happened at the beach and it drew Mukasa's mother's attention, and by the time she turned back to Mukasa, he was gone. That night, as soon as Mukasa's mother woke up from that dream, she burst into tears that it woke her husband.
Mukasa! Mukasa!
What is it? What is it?
When her husband asked why she was crying, she lied about it. She deliberately refused to tell her husband her dream because she knew he wouldn't take it seriously. Also, he would either tell her she was dreaming about Mukasa because she missed him or that her mind was messing with her. The following morning, since Mukasa's mother was still disturbed by the dream she had, she called her pastor and told him what she had seen. Then she begged the pastor to pray that Mukasa be found wherever he was. Fortunately, the pastor listened to her and didn't try to talk her out of it, especially since it had been 7 years since Mukasa's disappearance. For more than 3 months, Mukasa's mother stayed up every night praying for her son.
Bring him home to
Because of how Mukasa's mother had explained her dream to her pastor suggested that they pray against the marine kingdom too. He believed that Mukasa's mother finding herself by the water had something to do with Mukasa's disappearance. Sadly, he was right. When Mukasa met Susan, he had no idea that she was from the marine world, and she had been sent on a mission to destroy men who could not control their lust, men like Mukasa. Also, Susan taking Mukasa to the water and causing him to bleed into the water was a way of initiating him into captivity, and that initiation process was complete after Mukasa slept with her. Regarding that urge Mukasa had to go back to the beach where he kissed Susan, it happened that after Mukasa's friends left their apartment to have fun, Mukasa could not resist that urge, so he ended up walking to that beach, and upon getting to the exact same spot where his blood spilled, he jumped into the water, and it opened him up to an underwater world the human mind could not comprehend. Sadly, since Mukasa had been lured into captivity, he remained in there for 7 years, serving and working, just as he had told his mother in her dream. After almost 4 months of tarrying non-stop for Mukasa's return, one day, the unexpected happened. That Saturday afternoon, Mukasa's mother was resting in her room when she received a phone call from a strange number. Upon picking the call, the caller told her that they had found a man that matched Mukasa's picture.
Are you sure?
And they wanted her to come to the popular beach and confirm. At first, Mukasa's mother could not believe her ears. When she told her husband, he told her that it was impossible and that it was a prank call. But despite saying that, they still went ahead to see if really Mukasa was the one the caller had found. And to their greatest surprise, it was really him.
Mukasa!
When Mukasa's mother saw
Thank you,
Mukasa,
Father.
he looked the exact way she saw him in her dream. But something else was wrong. For some reason, Mukasa had forgotten everything about himself. He didn't even remember his own name and couldn't recognize friends and family. It was almost like his whole memory had been wiped off. That day, Mukasa's mother cried and cried until she had no more tears left. Funnily enough, on some of the nights she prayed, there were days she doubted she would ever see her son again. And sometimes she felt like she was crying over spilled milk, but her pastor encouraged her to keep going. What Mukasa's mother did not know was that her prayers were causing a lot of trouble and destruction in the marine kingdom, and when they could not stand it anymore, they were forced to set Mukasa free. As time passed, Mukasa slowly regained his health, but not his memory. No matter how many people questioned him, he could not remember where he was in those 7 years, and he couldn't even tell what he was doing. He was just like a baby that had just been born and had not formed memories yet. Even though Mukasa's mother would have loved to know what happened to her son and where he had been, she was glad he had come home alive, and she thanked God for giving her the strength to keep going in prayers even when it seemed like nothing was changing. After Mukasa finally got his personal memory and identity back, he turned a new leaf and no longer lived a wayward life. However, the memories that had information about his whereabouts in those 7 years never came back to him. The end. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your favorite parts in the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also, do not forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.